Alex, good morning. Happy Monday. Excited to be here with you. Today, we're dipping back into this conversation about the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. There is so much more that's developing. You don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to find plenty of information to go through. One of the things that is intriguing to me, you brought this stat up last week. I actually saw it in an article. The change in healthcare from the year 2000 to 2024. I don't know if you have that close at hand or we could, kind of paraphrase it, but it was shocking as I went through that and rationalized it and talked to others. I'm like, yeah, it has done that. And it also feeds into some of the commentary I heard last week from AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the representative from New York, where she essentially said, hey, yes, it's a tragedy Brian got murdered. Yeah. Let's take nothing away from that and the devastation to his family. But it's also all of the comments, the New York Times op-ed being shut down because of 2,500 comments to United Health's CEO that said, well, feel bad. Like, we're trying our best. No. Yeah. It doesn't feel like that as consumers. So you have some stats to share with us.
Yeah. I have this pulled up. So if you're enraged over food prices and inflation, this kind of number blows it out of the water. So on average, over the last, this goes back to 1999, there has been a 342% increase in U.S. family health insurance premiums. That's 6.1% per year. CPI inflation.
Which that number is deceiving. The 6% a year is deceiving, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, just to give you a sense, CPI inflation it increases about 2.5% a year. So it's triple that. It still is a large number. But if you were in 2000, average families were paying around $6,000 for family health insurance premiums. It's now in 2024 on average, and we just had a conversation with a colleague of ours, Emily, $26,000 for family health insurance premiums.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's crazy. Over $20,000, in some cases more. It's unbelievable. It's an atrocity. And I mean, there's so many, we can go into so many areas here. I mean, you're just seeing one of the articles we were reading, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember remember that big movement, the Wall Street movement that took place when all the Occupy Wall Street?
Okay. That? Yeah, I remember that briefly.
This is a lot of people are saying this act that took place, the murder of the United Healthcare CEO, is kind of like the start of like an Occupy health insurance movement, because you're seeing it now more than ever. I mean, just the amount of people, American citizens, commenting on the issues with American health insurance policies. Meanwhile, these CEOs and these high-level executives are getting paid tens of millions of dollars, where, up to, I've seen numbers up to 30%, 40% of Americans are getting denied, their payouts, what they get and should get deserved, or denied for their health coverage. And the numbers just seem to be just going up and up and up and up, and our health insurance is getting worse.
This is what I believe is the case. It's kind of like this. If we stop and think about, let's go back to when you were at Baylor, right? You were at Baylor, right? And you, when you were at Baylor, I know you weren't under full scholarship, but you had some, and as far as like food costs, you had some of your food costs covered for being a player on the team, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So if we look and we said, hey, Alex, what was the cost of you to eat food during college? You'd look at that as like, well, I don't have a great perspective in it, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I don't.
So, for example, for me, I paid for everything. And I even, I was part of a fraternity, and I would eat a lot of times as a fraternity. Now, that was part of my cost, but it wasn't my everyday. Like, I remember my senior year, I did not live in my fraternity house. I would go to my fraternity house to go grocery shopping.
Oh, dude, well, hold on. I remember. So I stopped playing football my senior year. So I was going into my fourth year. I was done with football, and I was broke as shit. And
Yeah, bro.
I was like, how do I pay? It was like,
Yeah.
do I buy this case of beer or do I buy ramen noodles? Because
I mean, that's a hard decision. I
and
mean,
at
if
that
you think
age,
back at 21, 22 years old, those are the decisions you're really sitting down and making.
you really
Ramen
are at
or
that
Bush
age.
Light,
Yeah,
ramen or, whichever. So
Natty
I
Light.
get the
Yeah,
conversation,
I remember.
but here's where I think we don't, as a society, fully grasp the extent of healthcare costs. Because you and I are both, individual business owners. We have to go out and get insurance for ourselves. You mentioned our colleague Emily. She and her husband, the same, right? And that's where I think I know absolutely relatively the cost of healthcare.
Yeah.
And we've gone through that because that's a decision, business decision we have to actively make and have for the last 15 years. And yet there's so many in this country that don't have to make that because it is one of their benefit packages. So unless you're a business owner that is actively looking at the line item of these are our business costs for insurance, you really don't understand the cost. In the graphic that you said, we went from $3,000 for a family to $26,000 for a family over a 24-year period. That's massive.
And the other thing too is I don't think it would be as big of a deal. The prices are high, right? And I think a lot of people, but the problem is the amount of people that are denied. And it's
so,
not like
well, I mean,
right.
that comes into, to me,
Right.
that's the next layer. Okay.
Yeah.
Like I was talking to some friends and I said, hey, Apple stock is gone through the roof. Right? It's high. Like I saw a graphic this morning about Warren Buffett. And if you invested $1,000 in Apple stock back in like 2008 or something, you'd have that stock would be worth well over $300,000. Okay.
Right.
We're not, Tim Cook, good for you, buddy. Like, carry on. I got my Apple, I got my iMac, I got my iPad, I got my,
iPhone,
MacBook Pro, I got my iPhone. Like, I'm in it. I got my I got two sets of AirPods in my pocket right now. Like, Apple, you keep doing you.
Right.
I'm cool with that.
And
it's okay.
And I'll pay.
Yeah.
Products.
Yeah. Here's another business that has just gone exponentially in valuation since the early 2000s, and that's Amazon. Yeah. The amount of money my family spends each month through Amazon is a line item in our accounting. It is. It's just so many. And that's where, do I have any venom towards, Jeff in that? No, you provide an amazing service. Good for you. But now let's talk about healthcare. Oh, well, you're going to go to the doctor if you can get to a doctor. If you aren't waiting in, like my daughter asked this morning, she wants to go see a dermatologist. We have a family friend who's a dermatologist that we all go to. She wants to go visit them. And I understand her plight. Our dermatologist is, the last appointment that I made for my son, kind of similarly, was a 4-month in the future. So my daughter wants to go, and she wants to go within yesterday. And I know full all and well, it's like, maybe March or April, you might be able to get in. And that's just one provider. She does a great job. And it's not because of her. It's just because of there's so few providers that's where we're at. Well, why are there so few providers and that's where we're at? It's because as I've talked to them, they loathe, they hate, they despise as a business being a practitioner because of the wrestle with insurance companies.
Yeah.
It is just I have a friend who's a chiropractor that I go to, and I was asking him last winter when we were in the midst of changing some of our healthcare options. And I said, hey, small, I think there's 3 doctors, 3 chiropractors at this clinic. I said, if you guys didn't have to deal with insurance companies, how many people in your office would no longer be employed? And he said, minimum of 2. Yeah. 2 people, that's all they do is wrestle with insurance companies. Can we get paid? How soon can we get paid? What's going on? Like we changed our insurance a year ago, and I got a statement of benefits 7 months later after we canceled our insurance with that company. 7 months that our provider and or the insurance company were wrestling over it. And ultimately, if we were charged $500, the bill ended up being $250. Well, what do I know from conversations with them? It's like, well, yeah, we have to keep increasing our rates in order that they pay us to where we can break even. And it's like the whole thing is just a mess.
It's a mess. It's a mess.
That's a rant. Is that a rant? Does that count as a rant?
I love your rants. They're the best.
Well, can I have you share that with Kelly? Can I just, hey, why don't you just send her a message? Say, hey, Kelly, I just want to let you know I love Tyler's rants.
I love when Tyler goes on rants. Can you say that to Ashley, please, too?
Yeah, well, I mean,
we all.
I don't know if I want to get in trouble, Alex.
Yeah,
like, I feel like
it.
I'm on pretty good terms with Ashley.
Yeah, you're good. No, but there's this great BuzzFeed article. They had all of these stories because there's been an outpouring of stories coming in of these health insurance horror stories. I sent you the article a little earlier, but they have 18 that they have in here, and they're insane. I only can read a couple of them because it would take up too much time. But this one, I have a rare autoimmune disorder. I have many insurance horror stories. One that is a continuing nightmare is a battle for this monthly infusion called IVIG. This infusion is one of the few things that actually helps me. Since my disorder is rare, there's only one medication out there that is approved for it. This means any other medications that help are off-label, so typically insurance companies won't cover it. You can appeal and fight their decision. This sometimes works. With the IVIG infusions, my doctor and I won our appeal about 7 years ago. Everything was going well with getting it as an outpatient until last year. The insurance company stopped paying for my infusions, which I wasn't even made aware of until the company that supplied it to me contacted me for an outstanding balance of like tens of thousands of dollars. So basically, the insurance company stopped paying for this infusion that this woman was getting randomly without awareness. They keep billing her and they go, here's your bill. There's another one, a motorcycle accident. I mean, there's just so many of these randomly denied and also just straight up denied cases. There was another case. Let me pull it up here. Last year, United Healthcare specifically settled a case brought by a severely ill college student in Pennsylvania who claimed the company denied coverage for drugs determined necessary by his doctors, leaving him with a medical bill of over $800,000. The lawsuit, which was chronicled by ProPublica, uncovered the lengths to which the insurer goes to reject claims, including buying medical reports and relying on rubber-stamped recommendations from doctors paid by the company. I mean, and this is a case that they won. It's just, there seems to reach a boiling point here, right?
Well, I mean, I just did a quick search because I thought about this. The percentage of suicide. The I'm going to go to the extent to end my life, as I was, just thinking about a recent podcast guest in his book, and I'll tie this in, but it found that 16% of suicides are a response to financial problems. And of that, one of the major financial problems people come into is medical. And often because, it's one thing, I go on vacations, I spend frivolously. All right, I can accept that pain, that's the decision I made. If all of a sudden, like you just said, the patient you talked about who had a unexpected medical that they went from, I can manage this, to unmanageable, I can't see the end of it. Plus, I might be in afflicted pain and suffering because of this medical condition. Dude, it's a nightmare. And one of the things that I looking at, I recently am preparing for a podcast here in a couple of weeks with an author, and his name's Ken Rusk. And in his book, he talks about walking through financial planning with one of his workers, or a guy that worked for him. And the reason he was in financial distress is his wife had some medical complications and ended up being a $3,000 to $4,000 as a 20-year-old a $3,000 to $4,000 bill. And he was just like, how do I navigate this? Like the whole seems insurmountable. And he talked about the stress of him coming to work because of this debt that the medical bills put on him, because he just didn't know how to out of it. Well, and Ken walked him through a budgeting, whatever, pretty simple, but that's easy from the outside oftentimes. But when you're in the midst of it and you're like, how do I get ahead of this snowball that's coming at me?
Right.
And all over in the umbrella of this is health insurance companies' profits are going up at a higher rate. The only higher company that had more profitability in the last 20 years is tech.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's insurance. And that to me is you have this coupled increase in cost, this increase in denials, like the coverage is getting less and less and their profits are ballooning. It's a difficult situation to, kind of stomach and or consider. And man,
no, I was just going to say to my point earlier, like you were mentioning with Apple, if the situation was, premiums are going up, but we have the best damn insurance. Oh man, we always get what we need when we need it.
Yeah.
We're never denied, right? Like there would be a different feeling. I understand why I'm paying $5,000 for a laptop, right? If we're going back to Apple, and the phone is $2,000. I mean, this thing's faster and quicker. It always gets better. It's got AI. I'll pay for it.
Yeah.
And they're making money. They got hundreds of billions in cash.
It's not a fight against capitalism, in my opinion. That's what some people are saying.
Yeah.
I don't believe that, because we look at other capitalists like we've talked about and we applaud them. Like, good on you. Let's go. Do more.
Yeah. It's the broken system of which how they are making their wealth is at the cost of human lives and at the cost of basically our health, which is the most important thing in our world.
I just searched this, just found it.
Yeah.
This is a article from ABC News back in March 5th. It said an average of 19.8% of Americans had medical debt in collections. Hold on. A new study from the American Cancer Society found that for every $100 increase in medical debt, there were 8 more days of poor physical health and 6.8 more days of poor mental health reported in a month per 1,000 people. Hey, guess what? This is massively affecting our society and our workplaces, and we haven't taken notice. The effect, like I mentioned from the story about Ken, as we're, playing this out, I think it would be worse in our society if more people were paying for it on their own, and we're just getting exposed to how bad this is. And there's a lot of people that know it. And I think, taking someone's life, there's never a reason for it. And I want to make sure that is communicated. Like, there's never a reason for it.
Yeah. No, 100%.
And the people that are applauding, not the right way to do it.
Yeah.
But I think what is substantial, I think what is recognizable, and it's tough to stomach, we wouldn't have this conversation today, and ongoing in all parts of our society that are having it in major ways would not be having it without. And so I'm going to share that this is probably not many people can sit here and say this. And again, it's not different. It's similar, but it's different. I think in years' times, we may have this opinion, and it's hard to say and it's hard to stomach. Brian Thompson's death may cause more to change healthcare reform in this country than anything else ever.
Yeah, it's a hot take. I mean,
and this is why I say that. And if you haven't heard anything about me, hear this now. I look at Brian and say, hey, you were just whatever. I don't know his place. I don't know his position. I don't know why he was selected. Don't know that. At the same point, I don't know why my brother was selected. I don't know why my brother endured what he did. I don't know why my brother died at 3. but I wouldn't have the perspective I just shared if I hadn't had to go through and wrestle through that, being the person at the hands that caused his death. Did I aim to take his? No. But I can look back and say, my brother's life had impact. Brian's life is going to have major impact solely because we're talking about it and so many others are. There's a problem in the system.
Yeah. No, those are powerful words, Tyler, and I always appreciate you sharing and being vulnerable. That's why I think so many people are tuning in. But it and we're not here to debate whether what the murder was justified or not. That's right. It's like we're here to talk about the issue at hand, which is all the problems going on with the medical or the health insurance industry as a whole, and how it's causing pain and suffering to so many, and this feeling of powerlessness.
Oh,
Have you ever had that feeling where you just feel utterly powerless?
And I think that's the the piece that when we hear and when we listen and it's kind of understanding is like this is, we talked a little bit about this, and I think this is what's so different about medical care is you can only change your medical care in certain windows.
Right.
The difficulty is I don't like the process. My insurance company is not the cost of it, the benefits, the whatever. I can't sit here and go and switch companies. I don't like that, the service that Verizon has. I'm going to go switch to T-Mobile. I don't like T-Mobile. I'm going to go to switch to Verizon. The system says, screw you. You can't do that. That's why people are so upset. Quit bending me over a barrel and then screwing me and smiling about it and look at our profits. That's the problem.
Well, okay. So we have identified the problem.
That was heated.
That was heated. So this new regime's coming in. The Trump administration's coming in. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember healthcare being.
It's going to be if it's not.
Yeah, because I listen to all debates. We talked about the debates.
I don't think it was on the radar.
I don't
think it was on the radar of anyone.
Where do they sit? I have not seen anything about it yet. I haven't heard Trump say anything.
It's been kind of quiet. But if we look at it, if Trump has been an ear to the ground, what is people are talking about, I don't think there's a more bipartisan conversation anywhere in our society.
Yeah.
Now, there's a little bit of venom that people are saying, that this is largely due to the leftist, opinion justifying, and like, no, you're not paying attention.
No, yeah.
I think it is uniform across all races, across all levels of, income, across every different genre of people. It's a broken system.
And I haven't heard anything. So yeah, I'm curious to what over the next 4 years. Yeah, is like we monitoring what this administration does to help solve this major crisis that's happening in this country. Because I think it's moved it to one of the top 3 issues. If not, I mean, some people argue it's the number 1 issue, but
I would say what if it's not the number 1 issue right now, what is?
Well, I'm going based off of what I've heard.
The drones in New Jersey?
The drones in New Jersey. I talked about my mom about that over the weekend. I'm like, she's like, there's drones everywhere, and they're pretty far out in the suburbs. That's
the light show at the Jets game.
I was like, that's probably just the Jets fucking up their halftime show like they do everything else.
Hey, they accidentally sent them to Princeton instead of East Rutherford.
MetLife Stadium. It was just 5,000 drones that got messed up by the technician over at the Jets facility. But yeah, no.
Have you seen some of those drone shows?
I have. They're pretty incredible.
Dude, they're pretty crazy impressive. We were at a concert and they had one, and it was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I mean,
it is really, and it almost like, UFOs and stuff. It looks like, I
saw a video we are way off topic, but this is fun. I saw a video the other day of, I don't know what school they were at, but they were setting out all of the drones.
Yeah.
So they put them out on this like sports field, and they had to like put them all in this grid. They put them all out there. They turn them on, whatever, get them ready to go. And then all of a sudden they like, it's almost like watching Star Wars, like, because they all kind of start layering and then they start, doing their thing. And you're like, dude, it's to me, it's not crazy because I understand the technology. It's pretty simple. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yet it is pretty like, that's a lot of drones.
Yeah, it's just the way they have it computerized and fine. Anyway, but
back to healthcare.
Back to the top 3 things from the Trump administration that I recall was immigration.
Yep.
The
food costs.
High food costs, the high inflation. So let's just look at that is 2, and then third, I guess, would be jobs. I don't know if it was jobs, but do you have a third?
That now it's, we're talking about 6 weeks ago and look how far not important it is.
Right. We're talking about other things. We're talking.
Yeah. About, I think whether that is international, that's a good question. What was the third? Those 2 were pretty.
Those were the
obvious
ones that they would just beat into the ground, immigration and the wall and, these people coming in.
I saw this the other day about the wall, and my father-in-law does this as a business. So I understand it's completely true. They have all of these materials for the wall, and they're offloading them because that's what the government does. If it gets to a certain point, they don't have a use for them. They don't know what to do. They'll just dump them. And so the opening bid for like these millions of dollars worth of materials to build the wall, I think the bid was at like $5. And that's what they do. Yeah. And I saw this from Dan Crenshaw, the representative of Texas, and he was saying, hey, Texas governor, go buy that and build the wall yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of, that's our government. Can't wait till Vivek and Elon start tackling that one.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's what I'm like, who is going to be like, I know RFK is part of this party, but that to me was more, his focus is more on on food and the products that go inside the highly processed foods.
If I were to
so much health insurance.
I don't know who would take that. I would think between him, the Surgeon General, I don't know if there's like a major healthcare person. It's something to watch. I think the 2 things to end here, as we kind of get towards a wrap, I think is, man, I really go back to this and take it for what it is. It's painful. It is difficult. It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But I implore the fact that, hey, if Brian Thompson ends up being the driver to change the massive healthcare, man, his life had tremendous purpose. It's just a take, whatever. And that's my perspective. And I'm, not discounting the difficulty at all that his family, his boys are going through. That's not it. But we wouldn't have this conversation if that wouldn't have happened. Number 2 is the overwhelming impact that the medical care industry has at a negative, not a positive from, the quality of healthcare, the speed of healthcare, the opportunity for healthcare. But as we looked at the stats on mental health, on physical health, on poor performance, on the total overall cost, there is a massive negative with very little positive.
Yeah, I agree. I guess one last note. It's crazy. There's a good friend of ours. She has to go international. She has a disease to get.
That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, she has to go international, get certain treatment for her. She has I don't know if it's multiple sclerosis or a very debilitating disease that will inflame every few months.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of it. And she has to, because she can't get care in the US. So she has to go international to get, all these different shots that really do help her. And I'm just like, that's crazy. Thinking of the US always in my life and growing up was like, we're we're so blessed, right? You live in the US, you're so lucky, you were born
We're
here.
so good at everything,
We're so
right?
good at everything. And as I've gotten older, and I'm sure you too, is like, there's just so many things that
We
we don't
suck
do
at.
well. Yeah, we just suck at. I'm like, why does this poor girl who's suffering, have to go, international to get these shots and pay a ton of money for them? And it's the only thing that's making her feel better. Like, where's the innovation? Like, why is it so difficult to get these treatments? And even from, my own personal situation, my mother-in-law passing away, there's just so many questions that we have still to this day of like, how exactly did she die? The whole process of them telling us she died. Like, it just, I don't know. There just seems to be so many issues with that whole healthcare industry in the US that is all, it's just broken. Like you said, it's just broken.
So you brought me up to the international and made me think of Tim Ferriss. So Tim Ferriss in his book 4 Hour Body talked about going to Costa Rica where he could get a full body MRI for like pennies on the dollar. And I subscribed to his newsletter, and here just last week, I think I shared it with you, Alex, is there was a bit in there about this, topic right now. And he mentioned an article in the New Yorker by Gia Tolentino. And one of the pieces from a quote from the nonprofit People's Action. And this is what it wrote. We know there is a crisis of gun violence in America. There is also a crisis of denials of care by private health insurance companies, including United Health. He goes on to share quite a bit about it and a video clip. I'll make sure that we get that into the show notes, but man, it's a pretty lengthy discussion that he had regarding this in this article. And it really is, again, this thing isn't going away. And there's a much bigger story that is really here to be talked about, to be discussed, and to figure out solutions for. So,
Absolutely.
Any parting words on your end, Alex?
No, I just, we got the holidays coming up. I really hope everyone stays healthy and well, and safe out there. And until next time.
Yeah. One last thing that I want to mention, a couple things. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe button and the bell. You get notified whenever we drop new content. We record this live on LinkedIn. We repost it on YouTube. Make sure you do that. The other thing, and I've gotten quite a bit of comments over the last week or so, the Roundtable, my signature group where we meet weekly via Zoom, February through November, where we really walk through leading well. We're taking applications right now. So that starts the beginning of February. So if you would like to find out more, go to tylerdickerhoof.com/roundtable or theimpactdrivenleader.com. You can find information about that. I have a call later today talking about the roundtable. And the person that reached out to me said, when you wrote about overcoming loneliness in leadership, it really spoke to me. And that is something that we really go through and understand why that leaders end up in so much isolation. So thanks for being here. Until next time, choose to lead with impact.